INF Pale says, I have a new theory that LCS, LEC, and LPL are all just prologue series with multiple episodes a week just to prepare us for the real show, Facecheck. You're damn right. What's up, everyone? dGon versus commenters for Facecheck Season 3, Episode 24. We had a lot of spicy takes. Let's get to it. Karen Siebel says, thanks for taking the time to acknowledge John Kim. In an industry with a lot of problems in how executives and managers treat those under them, he seems like he was an incredibly supportive and positive force. Condolences to LS and everyone who knew or worked with John. Yeah, well, thanks for that comment. And that's kind of why I wanted to lead off with that, because your point there, a lot of the time, from the back end, if you're, capable enough, you're able to kind of control the narrative and control your image and things like that. But I knew the kind of like the impact that John had on LS, and LS, we know the impact that LS has on so many people. So for someone to have the impact on Nick that way, I thought was important to share with the wider community. And again, just 40 years old. That's not that old in terms of life. So it was definitely something we wanted to take a time to acknowledge and share the good work that he did. Josiah Miners says, is it Miners or Meaners? I before E. All right, whatever. Huni is the discount version of the Nuguri of last month. Technically skilled, shamelessly aggressive laner who permashoves without vision and gets caught, then somehow manages to find ways to be relevant as the game goes on. Yeah, that seems accurate to me. I would say the Nuguri of last split would do all that stuff and then outplay a 1v2, 1v3, 1v4. Now, getting to the point where he's starting to get punished a lot more. It looks a lot more like Huni, where Huni will win lane and then kind of dominate, or lose lane. This Nocturne, I'm not sure about this Nocturne pick that keeps coming up again, because it doesn't allow him to have too much impact on these fights when he falls behind. But, Huni Gnar seems like a thing that happened a lot. Huni Lucian, he'll still push the envelope and, find openings. So, yeah, I mean, both these guys hyper aggressive. It's just, I would take Nuguri over Huni every time, though. Like, when you... Chris Miller, that was my neighbor growing up, said, really would like to Dom and LS do a stakes bet on if Evil Geniuses will beat Cloud9, 100 Thieves, TSM in playoffs, or even who wins the split. Something like that would be super fun. Thanks for the idea, Chris. Guess you'll have to tune into the next Facecheck to find out. Hey, before we get to the next comment, make sure to like and subscribe for more LCS content with your boy. All right, next up, a back-to-back. Air Doty and Shello Hello, they say, EG would beat the brakes off of Cloud9 right now in a best of 5, and I don't see how you look at current form teams and say current Cloud9 would beat current Evil Geniuses. All right, although those are close to similar, those aren't the same statements there. Yes, I agree. Current Cloud9 could not beat current Evil Geniuses, especially if it's best of 1. Now, in a best of 5, I don't know. Now, LS definitely feels like it's a lot harder and a lot tougher to judge because the drafts have been very similar, right? Same types of champions. I don't know if that's the case for me. It's one of those things where it's rock, paper, scissors. If you throw rock and they throw scissors 3 times, you're not going to change from throwing rock again. Like your comp is working. No one's proven that they can play paper yet. So I think that it's fine what Evil Geniuses is doing. The question is, do they have more comps behind it, more styles to play behind it? Are they going to play a comp where they up front load the resources into Danny and play it through bot? We've seen games where Impact can carry, which has been great, but that's not really the meta right now. So it's been a lot of like, hey, it's resources into jungle and into mid, and Danny will find ways to create plays, and we'll give like Renekton and Ornn and I think it was Viego up top. So that's kind of been their composition base, and I don't think it's bad that they know what their style is. I actually think that's great. But when you look at Cloud9, and the roster of players that they have and the tenure that they have behind them and the experience they had last year of collapsing, it's hard to go against them in a best of 5 with their ability to play anything as they have in the past. And even Perk said in the interview that we had over at VENN Esports that, like, hey, the beginning of the split and middle of the split is time to test. It's time to push my teammates. It's time to prepare. During playoffs, then I'll focus solely on my play because that's all I can do. He said something of that nature. So for now, they're all trying to work out what perfect looks like, what a perfect game looks like. And I haven't interviewed a player or a coach that has been able to articulate that as well as Perks did. He's very aware of what he thinks is happening. So I wouldn't count out Cloud9 in the best of 5. But in the best of 1, yeah, give me, heads only Jizuke with Danny on the bot side, finding ways to scrap and take over again. Uncle Shay says, nice picture, I feel like recently, every year, it's the weirdest year in LCS history. You know, that's oddly true. I've thought about that as well. I think season 8 was probably a quote unquote standard year, but I would say 9, 10, and this year have all been hectic for different reasons, right? The Cloud9 collapse, what was it? Lilia/Yone kind of releases. Lilia took over. Yone wasn't allowed to be played in pro play. This year, this summer, Split has just been insane with turnover, roster turnover, all that stuff. Now, you look at Korea, which is usually stable. It's like, oh yeah, there's our top 4. We're so used to seeing them. Like SKT might not make it out of to Worlds again after this roster turnover thing. LPL, like RNG not doing so well here, still in the MSI slump. So it's definitely been a year of chaos, and it should lead to more people watching, more people caring. Instead, we are seeing the traditional summer slump that we always see. So I think it's both a stigma of like, it's summer, who cares? I'll pay attention when we hit playoffs, because none of those teams on the bottom are going to upset anyone, for the LCS at least. And a lot of hecticness that people don't like change. So I think it's like this tough part where it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. All this change, you should watch. I don't want to watch because I want to watch my team and, there's so much change. Also, look, normal LCS, crappy teams, Golden Guardians on the bottom, ha ha ha. Like, Golden Guardians is actually maybe one of the best teams in the league, in form right now. Maybe not the best team in the league, but they're definitely in form right now. So there's a lot to be watching, and it feels like every year there's hecticness. So season 12, interested in what chaos that would bring, or if we go back to standard, good, beautiful, competitive League of Legends. Probably not, though. Nozumi's fave girl wrote a lot, so I'm only going to read the part that I thought was important. The best LCS team at the moment, ... to be honest, didn't answer the question. I think NA is looking really rough, but I also agree a lot with what Dom and LS are saying. The point about Evil Geniuses playing similar champs is a good one by LS, but I agree with Dom in that they are the best at the moment, because they can actually close out games and tower dive successfully, unlike the other teams. I agree with that. They are showing beyond just team composition, like what to do. They know how to make the proactive play and punish, like we've seen in other regions, like we've seen in the past from teams, right? When teams are in form, even like last split, when Cloud9 was in form, when Team Liquid were in form, they would comfortably correctly push in the waves, correctly get the vision, correctly choke out the jungler so that it was an easy 3 to 4 man dive on the bottom side of the map. They get 1, maybe 2 kills. And the other team maybe get like a chip damage onto mid turret, and the top laner falls back so he doesn't get ganked. Like, that's League of Legends that we know and love. And right now, it seems like Evil Genius is the only one that are able to capable of doing that, as well as beyond that, right? We've seen multiple times now where the team is fighting 5v4 on the bottom side of the map. They might go 1 for 1, but Jizuke's taking a tower in mid or in top. And they've done that consistently now, while other teams are so focused on fighting. Fight, let's win this fight and then turn it into something. Whereas this Evil Geniuses team reminds me of what Monty wanted when he was coaching CLG back in the day, where it was the art of war. The perfect game is to not get in a fight, take the other team's bases, towers, until you take their nexus. Yeah, like you just need to put them in uncomfortable check positions, I would say, like a chess reference, until they have nothing left to give. and naturally you now have a massive gold lead. The game has changed a lot now, and there's obviously, that team still, Jizuke specifically, takes those risks and does those 1v1s, and a lot of the time it comes up heads, but we're all over them when it comes up tails because it feels unnecessary. But Evil Geniuses are proving that, like, hey, it's not necessary, right? It's not damning by taking that. It's, hey, Jizuke can do this on the other side. All right, cool. 2 people run bot. We'll make sure to use our 4v3 pressure on something else. So they've done a very good job of playing the map and playing more complete game than everybody else. Relevant Muffin says, all I can think of is a great football quote. Amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. I feel like this is something NA needs to take to heart. Our best teams and players can all achieve the first half. I want them to push harder for the second half, even the consistent Evil Geniuses. This is where I disagree. Again, after seeing the inside of, how a team works, like, these players do practice insanely hard. The amount of time that they could probably eke out on a practice day, maybe, is like maybe 1 to 2 more games of solo queue, and even then, like, you have to deal with the solo queue toxicity, and how much are you actually getting to practice beyond like a laning phase. A lot of things teams need to practice are like in the mid game, right? Mid game and then late game. But mid game, like transferring your leads or learning how to catch up after falling behind, right? We all know how to laning phase relatively well in the pro scene, but I think it comes down to quality of practice, and it's difficult to get quality of practice in the downtime right now. I would say, again, Golden Guardians leading the way by having positional coaches, the Evil Geniuses having positional coaches, so that you can practice against someone of caliber is important, but expensive, and not every team can afford to do that. Not every team subscribes to that type of thinking. But I don't think it's necessarily a effort issue. I think it's a quality. I think it's a quality issue. The quality of practice, the quality of coaches, the quality of knowledge that is there to be the most efficient with the time that's given. Because at the end of the day, it's still 24 hours here, or in Beijing, or in Seoul. Okie dokie, another duo. Asmodeus and Scott Gill, both about FlyQuest. Regarding FlyQuest, I feel like it will be easier for them to improve their laning phase as opposed to the other teams improving their mid to late game objective play. Just from a common sense perspective, it is much easier to practice laning than anything else. That's the reason I think Fly could become an actual contender by playoffs, if they make playoffs. And Scott Gill says, unfortunately, Fly's imperfect week puts a lid to my alternative idea where a salary cap forces teams to consider depth, an extension of dGon talked about in the previous week versus commenters. That said, Fly is still performing well with that academy roster, meaning that there's something to be said for teams on the lower rungs and their expenditures. By not spending on top talent, they can play the board instead of develop 10 players at a time, 15 for teams opting into a third team's worth of depth. Okay, yes, Scott, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be Cloud9 with like 27 wins than like FlyQuest with 13 and hoping they get into playoffs. Like, we'll see. Let's see. Again, we had a kind of like an easy week that first Academy roster week. We had the hell week last week for this FlyQuest Academy roster team. If we really think that FlyQuest Academy can hang tough with some of the best, they need to beat the teams that they should be ahead of, which I think will happen this week, or they're going to have a test to do this week, right? Did we think that they were better than 100 Thieves? No. Did we think they were better than TSM? No. They got that win. Did I think they were better than Evil Geniuses? Maybe, but probably not. I picked Evil Geniuses to win there. So now we're starting to see them play against the teams that they should be beating. What do they do now that they are the favorites, not just this house money underdog, right? Because we're getting into playoffs, and they're going to be playing the teams that they're going to have to beat in playoffs. So I think this is now a good test of where FlyQuest is before we make any definitive results and conclusions. Asmodeus as well, I agree. I think for them to up their laning phase, so they're not getting outclassed, is good. But you could just see how cohesive they are in what they are thinking in these mid-game to late-game fights. So again, that'll get truly tested this week. Hey, y'all, thanks again for another fantastic set of comments. This one ran a little long because there were so many of them. So thank you for that. If I didn't get to them, I'll be in the comment section. As always, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more LCS content. We'll see you for the matches this weekend and for Facecheck next week.
Well, that's the end of that video. You want more though, right? Thought so. Good thing YouTube makes it so easy to watch more VENN Esports simply by clicking the subscribe button, dinging the bell, and exploring all the other good stuff we have to offer. Got some good things. Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah, this was the one that we did that one time, and it was like so great. It was so good. I learned a lot. You should click on it. It's this one.